You know, I've discovered something fascinating about personal growth. The moment you decide to truly change, to reshape your life into something better, wiser, stronger, something peculiar happens. Those around you start to react. Friends, family, coworkers. They all begin looking at you differently, wondering what's gotten into him. Or why isn't she acting the way she used to? And here's the surprising truth. They may never fully understand the new you, and that's perfectly okay. When I was a young man growing up in Idaho, working the fields and dreaming of a better life, I made a decision to shift my philosophy, to transform my thinking, and ultimately, my entire life. I remember returning home from my very first seminar, filled with excitement about new ideas and possibilities, only to face puzzled looks from those around me. They said, "Jim, what's gotten into you?" They couldn't understand why I suddenly wanted more, why I was no longer satisfied with things as they were. It wasn't their fault. They just couldn't see what I saw. And that's important to remember. Your vision isn't their vision. Your dreams aren't their dreams. What I've learned is this. When you step into a new chapter of life, when you dare to become more than you were yesterday, there will always be those who struggle with your new direction. They like the old you because the old you fit comfortably into their expectations. The old you didn't challenge their thinking. But as you grow, as you evolve, you naturally disrupt their familiar world, their confusion, their doubt, even their resistance. It's all natural. Your job isn't to convince them. Your job is simply to keep growing, keep striving, and keep living your truth. The rest will sort itself out in time. Have you ever noticed how people often react to change with suspicion? When you decide to eat healthier, some might tease you about it. When you start reading books about success or setting ambitious goals, others might question your motives or your sanity. Why is that? Well, it's because your growth makes them uncomfortable, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your actions highlight their own unwillingness to change. They're suddenly reminded of opportunities they might have ignored, ambitions they might have abandoned, and that's uncomfortable. But let me tell you something powerful. Their discomfort isn't your responsibility. Your responsibility is to become the best version of yourself, regardless of who understands or who doesn't. I recall when I first began sharing new ideas about personal development with some of my closest friends. These were good people, mind you, hardworking, sincere, and honest. But when I started discussing my dreams of achieving financial freedom, traveling the world, and impacting lives through teaching and speaking, their faces would cloud with confusion. One even said, "Jim, why can't you just settle down and accept life as it is?" You see, my growth challenged their perspective. They saw ambition as something unsettling because it disrupted their comfort zones. And here's the lesson. Those who are most comfortable rarely understand those who seek growth. They're content in their familiar routines, their predictable results, and that's fine for them. But it wasn't fine for me. Maybe you've experienced this yourself. You announce your decision to pursue something greater, perhaps to start your own business, change your career, or simply improve your daily habits. And suddenly, people start offering unsolicited advice, warnings, or even criticism. It can feel isolating. But listen closely. You're not alone. Every person who's ever stepped out to achieve greatness has faced misunderstanding along the way. Every pioneer, every innovator, every great leader, they've all had moments when those around them simply couldn't grasp their vision. Remember, vision by its very nature is something deeply personal. It's something you see clearly long before others do. So don't expect immediate understanding. Expect questions. Expect doubts. Expect resistance. but never let those things deter you from moving forward. Here's something important to remember. People will often prefer the familiarity of your old limitations rather than the uncertainty of your new possibilities. They might not say it openly, but your growth can feel threatening, not because, they wish you harm, but because your transformation reminds them that they too have potential they aren't fully utilizing. Your willingness to grow shines a bright light on their own reluctance to change. And that's uncomfortable. It's unsettling, but it's also necessary. Your example might be the very thing that eventually inspires them, even if they don't see it yet. And even if it never inspires them, it's still worth doing for you, for your future, and for those you haven't even met yet, who will someday be influenced by your courage. Understand clearly, you are not obligated to remain who you used to be. You are allowed to evolve, to redefine your goals, your values, and your priorities. The price of growth is often misunderstanding, but that's a price worth paying. Think about history's greatest figures, the inventors, thinkers, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Do you think everyone understood their visions when they began? Do you believe their friends and family immediately saw the genius of their ideas? No, not at first. Often these visionaries stood alone, at least in the beginning. They were misunderstood, questioned, even ridiculed. But today, we celebrate their accomplishments precisely because they dared to continue, even when no one else understood. Your transformation may be challenging, but it's also essential. You weren't created to fit neatly into other people's expectations. You were created to grow, to expand, to reach for something greater. Embrace the misunderstandings as a natural part of the process. Accept them as confirmation you're truly changing. And most importantly, keep moving forward, because your future, your dreams, your potential, they're waiting for you on the other side of misunderstanding. When you begin the journey toward personal growth, you'll quickly notice something profound. The conversations around you start to shift. You're no longer discussing complaints or limitations. Instead, you're discussing possibilities, ideas, and ambitions. For some, this change in conversation feels strange, unfamiliar. They were comfortable talking about what's wrong with life, what's unfair or impossible. But when you start talking about solutions, opportunities, and potential, it challenges their way of thinking. And sometimes, instead of rising with you, they'd prefer to pull you back down to familiar ground. This is precisely why it's essential for you to remain strong in your resolve. Never apologize for growing. Never apologize for striving toward greater things. Remember, the greatest favor you can do for those around you isn't to remain the same. It's to become an example of what's possible. When you embrace growth, even if others resist initially, you're providing a living demonstration of what life can offer. And though they may not immediately understand or accept it, you're planting seeds. I remember a mentor of mine once sharing a powerful insight. He said, "Jim, when you grow taller, you inevitably cast a shadow. And sometimes the people who once stood comfortably beside you will find themselves in that shadow. Not because you meant to cast darkness, but simply because you chose to reach toward the sun. This is a truth you must accept on your journey. Growth has consequences. But those consequences shouldn't stop you. They should inspire you. You see, people tend to respond to your personal evolution in one of two ways. They become inspired or they feel threatened. Those who feel inspired will see your growth as proof that change is possible. They'll watch you and start believing, maybe even for the first time, that they can transform their own lives. But those who feel threatened often interpret your success as their own failure. They mistakenly believe your improvement highlights their inadequacies. This, of course, is never your intent, but you can't control their perceptions. Your only responsibility is to continue on your path, committed to your truth. Consider history's greatest achievers. Did they pause to ensure everyone understood their vision before they moved forward? Rarely. Did they wait for approval, validation, or universal acceptance? Not likely. They acted because they knew their calling was greater than the immediate opinions of those around them. They pursued their dreams despite misunderstanding, resistance, and doubt because they understood something critical. The reward of becoming your true self far outweighs the temporary discomfort of being misunderstood. Here's something I want you to remember clearly. When people say, "You've changed," they rarely mean it as praise. Often, what they really mean is, "You're no longer fitting into the comfortable box I built for you." And you know what? That's perfectly okay. You're not supposed to fit into a box. You're not meant to remain limited by someone else's expectations or definitions. Life rewards those who have the courage to break free from the familiar, to explore, to innovate, to dream boldly, even at the risk of misunderstanding. One of the greatest lessons I've ever learned is that your life will inevitably reflect your philosophy. If your philosophy says, "Stay comfortable," you'll likely remain stagnant, predictable, and unchanged. But if your philosophy says, "Grow, explore, strive," you'll inevitably disrupt not only your own comfort, but also the comfort of those around you. That disruption isn't negative, it's transformative. It's a sign you're moving forward. So, the next time someone says you've changed, I want you to smile. Smile because it means you're making progress. Smile because it means your life is becoming a reflection of growth, ambition, and possibility. And most importantly, smile because their recognition, even if given begrudgingly, is proof you're not the same person you once were. Yes, people may misunderstand the new you. They may not grasp why you're reading those books, setting those goals, or pursuing those dreams. But here's a powerful thought. Their misunderstanding today often becomes their admiration tomorrow. The very people who question your choices now might someday be the first to say, "I always knew you could do it," once your success becomes undeniable. So don't allow today's doubts to steal tomorrow's triumph. Stay true to your journey. Stay loyal to your vision. Keep growing, even if they don't yet understand. Because at the end of the day, your responsibility isn't to explain yourself to the world. Your responsibility is to fully realize the incredible potential within you. Your growth matters. Your dreams matter. And the truth is, it's perfectly okay if they never fully understand the new you. Because ultimately, the only person who truly needs to understand and accept who you're becoming is you. When I first committed to personal growth, I quickly realized a fascinating truth. You can't expect others to immediately celebrate your evolution. In fact, some might openly resist it. You might hear them say things like, "Yom, you're just not the same anymore," as if that's something to be concerned about. But why would you want to remain exactly the same? Isn't the whole point of living to grow, to change, to continually become more than you were yesterday? Think about it this way. The caterpillar becomes the butterfly. Can you imagine other caterpillars saying, "You've changed"? Well, of course it's changed. It's grown wings. It can now fly. Yet in your own life, when you start to develop your own wings, when you begin to soar above your old limitations, those around you might not immediately see the beauty of that transformation. Instead, they'll see that you're no longer crawling. They'll notice you no longer share the same limitations, and they might feel left behind. But remember, Your growth doesn't diminish anyone else. It simply reveals what's possible when you dare to pursue your true potential. I had a friend many years ago who simply couldn't accept the changes I was making. Every time we'd talk, he'd gently remind me, "Jim, don't forget where you came from." And you know what? I never forgot where I came from. But I also knew clearly where I was headed. Sometimes people want you to remain loyal to your past self, not because it benefits you, but because it makes them comfortable. But life isn't about making others comfortable with your choices. Life is about fulfilling your unique purpose, no matter how uncomfortable it might make others feel. Here's something else to keep in mind. Your growth will naturally lead you to new relationships and new circles of influence. It's not about abandoning old friends. It's about discovering new connections that align with your vision. The friendships you make as you continue to grow are often deeper, richer, and more meaningful because they're built upon shared ambition, shared philosophy, and shared goals. You'll find people who encourage your dreams, who challenge your limits, and who inspire you to become even better. But to reach those new relationships, you must first be willing to move beyond the familiar, even if it means temporary isolation. Consider this carefully. Your willingness to endure temporary misunderstanding today can create lasting inspiration tomorrow. The example you set by continuing forward, even when others don't understand, can be incredibly powerful. Think of the people who've inspired you. At some point, each of them faced misunderstanding. They faced doubt, criticism, even isolation, yet they pressed on anyway. And because of their courage, they eventually inspired you and countless others. Imagine now being that same source of inspiration for someone else in the future. Imagine your story becoming the reason someone else finds the courage to pursue their dreams, despite the doubts of those around them. You know, sometimes the path toward growth can be lonely. It can feel as if you're traveling a road that others simply can't see. But loneliness on the path of growth isn't permanent. It's temporary. It's a bridge between the old you and the new you. Eventually, others who are also traveling this path will appear beside you. They'll recognize your journey, they'll understand your struggle, and they'll celebrate your progress. The initial discomfort and misunderstanding are merely part of the process, a small price for the incredible rewards of personal evolution. Now, let me share another powerful idea with you. Your journey towards self-improvement isn't just about achieving your personal goals. It's also about becoming the person capable of achieving those goals. It's about developing discipline, resilience, courage, and strength of character. And often these qualities emerge precisely because you had to navigate misunderstanding and resistance. When people don't understand you, it forces you to clarify your beliefs, to refine your purpose, and to strengthen your resolve. Their questions and criticisms become the very tools you use to build an unshakable foundation for your success. Remember clearly, growth often begins with discomfort. It starts with the realization that where you are isn't where you want to remain. It involves facing uncertainty, risking criticism, and accepting misunderstanding. But on the other side of that discomfort lies fulfillment, achievement, and lasting success. It's a journey worth taking, even if others can't yet see why you're doing it. Trust yourself, trust your vision, trust your dreams, because eventually your life will become the clearest explanation anyone could ever need. Your transformation, your growth, isn't merely about changing what you do. It's about changing who you become. And here's the fascinating thing. When you commit to becoming a new and improved version of yourself, your actions, your habits, Your entire way of being begins to shift. People can't help but notice. Some will cheer you on, inspired by your courage, while others might quietly question your sanity. But understand this clearly. Your goal isn't universal approval. Your goal is personal fulfillment, authentic success, and lasting impact. There's a powerful idea I learned early in my journey. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Have you heard that before? Well, here's why it's important. When you begin to change, when you start evolving towards something better, wiser, and stronger, it's natural that your circle of influence begins to change as well. Some friendships may naturally drift apart, not because anyone did anything wrong, but simply because your paths have begun to diverge. Many years ago, as I began to pursue speaking and personal development seriously, I noticed something interesting. The people I used to spend time with, those comfortable discussing problems rather than solutions, gradually stopped seeking me out. Not because I pushed them away, but because my energy, my conversations, and my ambitions no longer resonated with them. And as these old relationships faded, new relationships blossomed. Relationships with people who valued growth, ambition, positivity, and possibility. You might face moments where you question yourself, moments where you wonder if the discomfort of misunderstanding is really worth it. Let me reassure you, it absolutely is. Because here's the truth. Temporary discomfort always precedes lasting growth. The most powerful changes you'll ever make usually come packaged in moments of doubt, uncertainty, and resistance from others. But if you stay committed, if you remain true to your vision, those moments of discomfort will transform into powerful stories of triumph. I recall clearly when I first shared with my family that I wanted to become a speaker and travel the world, influencing lives through my seminars. Their reactions varied from skeptical smiles to outright disbelief. But here's the critical thing I had to remember. Their reactions had nothing to do with my capability and everything to do with their perspective. They couldn't see the possibilities I saw because they weren't standing where I stood. They weren't feeling the drive, the vision, or the passion that I was feeling. And that's perfectly okay. It wasn't their dream, it was mine. It wasn't their purpose, it was mine. You see, sometimes you must simply accept that your vision won't immediately make sense to everyone. And here's the beauty of it. It doesn't have to. The power of your dreams, the strength of your ambition isn't diminished just because someone else can't yet comprehend it. The only validation you need is your own conviction, your own determination to see your vision through, despite any misunderstanding or doubt you might face. Let me share a thought that has guided me for many years. You can't always control how others perceive your growth, but you can always control your commitment to it. So, their perceptions, opinions, and judgments are temporary. Your commitment to growth, however, can be permanent. It can be unwavering. It can define who you become and how you live your life. At some point, you might find yourself standing at a crossroads, faced with the choice between conforming to the expectations of those around you or boldly stepping forward into the life you envision for yourself. In those moments, remind yourself clearly, conformity may bring comfort, but courage brings fulfillment. Choosing the familiar path may avoid temporary criticism, but choosing your authentic path ensures lasting meaning, purpose, and success. Remember, every significant figure in history, every leader, every pioneer, every visionary, faced misunderstanding when they first embarked on their journey. The Wright brothers were told flight was impossible. Thomas Edison faced relentless criticism for his seemingly endless failures. Henry Ford was mocked for his dream of affordable automobiles for everyone. Yet each of these individuals chose to persist despite the misunderstanding and doubts of others. And today we celebrate their courage, their resilience, their unwavering commitment to their vision. Your story isn't any different. You have a purpose, a calling, a unique potential waiting to be realized. Misunderstanding is merely evidence that you're challenging expectations, that you're stepping beyond the familiar into the extraordinary. Embrace it, celebrate it, let it fuel you rather than discourage you. Ultimately, the people who truly matter in your life, the ones who genuinely care for you, will eventually understand, or at least accept, your transformation. And even if they don't, the satisfaction, fulfillment, and joy you gain from living an authentic life will far outweigh any temporary misunderstanding. So I encourage you today, don't shrink back. Don't limit yourself to comfort just to avoid the confusion or resistance of others. Embrace your vision boldly. Pursue your dreams fearlessly. Trust yourself. Trust your path. And above all, trust that even though they might not understand the new you today, eventually, your courage will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Trust yourself. Trust your path. And above all, trust that even though they might not understand the new you today, eventually, your courage will speak louder than any explanation ever could. As you embrace your new identity, your new habits, and your new direction, you'll inevitably discover that your priorities shift in powerful ways. Things that once seemed important lose their significance, and new passions begin to emerge. Maybe you'll find yourself choosing personal growth seminars over late-night gatherings, or reading insightful books instead of engaging in gossip and negativity. These choices, subtle as they may seem, profoundly impact your trajectory, reshaping your future one small decision at a time. Now, this shift might cause friction with people who expect you to remain exactly as you've always been. Friends might ask, "Why don't you spend time with us anymore?" Or family members might wonder, "Why is this so important to you now?" In these moments, remind yourself clearly, it's not your responsibility to fit their expectations. Your true responsibility is to honor your journey, to respect your vision, and to live authentically according to your values, not theirs. I learned early on that the discomfort of others shouldn't derail my progress. There was a time when friends couldn't understand why I chose to spend weekends studying personal development instead of enjoying leisure. They viewed my decisions as sacrifices, while I saw them as necessary investments in the person I was becoming. Eventually, my consistent commitment paid off in ways they couldn't foresee, and it opened their eyes. But until then, I had to endure their doubts, their skepticism, even their gentle mockery, and you might have to endure similar challenges as well. Understand clearly, the early stages of transformation often feel lonely, not because you're making a mistake, but precisely because you're making progress. It's a temporary condition, a bridge between who you once were and who you're becoming. Soon enough, others who share your ambitions, your mindset, and your philosophy will naturally enter your life. They'll see your vision and celebrate it. Until then, stay strong, stay determined, and trust the process. Your example, the very act of choosing to grow despite misunderstanding, can eventually become a powerful inspiration to others. Even those who currently question your decisions might one day look at your life and say, because you did it, I now believe I can too. Never underestimate the influence of your courage. People may doubt your words initially, but they'll never be able to doubt your results. Here's a truth you must keep close to your heart. You cannot reach your fullest potential while simultaneously seeking approval from everyone around you. Approval and greatness rarely coexist. You must choose your path clearly, either the comfort of being universally understood or the fulfillment of becoming truly exceptional. And let me assure you, choosing greatness, even with the cost of temporary misunderstanding, is always worth it. Consider your favorite role models, the people whose lives and achievements deeply inspire you. Did they become who they are by avoiding misunderstanding? Of course not. Each of them faced criticism, skepticism, and doubt. Yet, they pressed on because their purpose was clearer and stronger than the voices of opposition. They understood clearly that temporary misunderstanding is a small price to pay for lasting impact, fulfillment, and legacy. As you continue growing, you'll realize that some people aren't capable of understanding your vision simply because it extends beyond their current perspective. You see further, you dream bigger, you think differently. Not because you're superior, but because you've chosen growth over comfort. Recognize that it's not arrogance, it's ambition. It's not stubbornness, it's clarity of purpose. Your commitment to growth isn't a criticism of others, it's a celebration of your potential. So embrace the new you fully. Accept that not everyone will immediately applaud your changes. But remember clearly, applause isn't your primary goal. Authenticity is. As you stay true to your path, true to your vision, and true to the incredible person you're becoming, you'll eventually discover others who deeply resonate with your journey. They'll recognize your courage, appreciate your values, and encourage your continued growth. Most importantly, though, realize this. Even if they never understand, even if they never fully appreciate your transformation, your journey still matters deeply. It matters because it's yours. Your life isn't meant to be lived according to someone else's comfort zone. It's meant to reflect your deepest beliefs, your greatest dreams, your highest aspirations. Misunderstanding from others isn't a signal that you're on the wrong path. It's often proof that you're on exactly the right one. Hold fast to this truth as you continue your journey. The greatest gift you can give to the world is your authentic self, the fully realized, bravely expressed version of you. Even if others don't immediately understand this new version of you, continue boldly, continue courageously, because ultimately, the only person whose approval you truly require is your own. And once you have that, nothing can stand in your way.